I was born beneath the humid star-scattered skies of Okinawa, a small island that thrums with secrets and memories of ancient souls. My name is Tenshi, a name that means angel ghost, and even as a child of 12, I have long carried a burden both heavy and strangely beautiful. I see dead people. Every day in my little village where the ocean whispers lullabies and the wind carries the soft hum of ancestral voices, I wander along quiet, mossy paths that twist between crumbling stone walls and overgrown gardens. The other children play beneath the bright glare of the sun, but I find solace in the twilight hours when the boundary between life and death seems to blur together. It was on one of these evenings that I first noticed the soft murmur of a presence lingering near the ancient hibiscus tree at the edge of our schoolyard, a presence that spoke without words and whose eyes shimmered with sorrow. At first, I was frightened by these unseen companions. I would sit in silence, trembling as I sensed their weight, like distant memories pleading to be understood. The dead are not always frightening, I soon learned. They are often lost, yearning to be guided into the light of the next life. With each ghostly encounter, I grew bolder. I learned to speak back, to offer my quiet, innocent, childlike comfort. Even though I was only 12, I felt an unexplainable strength rising up within me, a purpose bestowed by fate in the form of my uncanny gift. In the stillness of Okinawa's nights, I discovered that the departed carry stories, tales of hatred, regret, sorrow, and sometimes of love lost to time. I remembered the spirit of a young samurai, his armor faded, and his eyes haunted by battles long past. I listened as his silent tale unfolded in the rustling bamboo and the sighs of the wind. I never judged him. I simply listened, knowing that every ghost I encountered was a fragment of history, a piece of a former world that had once been vibrant and full of hope and promise. But even as I learned how to ease the pain of these wandering souls, a feeling of isolation grew within me. Adults whispered that I was different and urged me to hide my secret and tell no one. They did not understand the beauty of those intimate conversations, the weight of getting to know the unseen. The dead did not mock me or bring fear. They simply yearned for an end to their endless wandering. In those twilight moments, as the soft haze of dusk cloaked the world, I found the courage to be their confidant and guide. I often wondered if my unusual gift was a blessing or a curse. The islands around Okinawa held many legends, and I sometimes imagined that my fate was written in the ancient scrolls of our ancestors, a fate to act as a bridge between the realm of the living and that of the departed. My parents, who spoke softly of honor and duty, never fully understood the special visitors I saw each night. I never told them. Instead, I confided in the quiet, listening beings of the night. Thus, my life began in a whisper of secrets and otherworldly confidences. I was a little girl with an old soul, burdened with the weight of memories that did not belong to me, and as the nights turned to months, I knew my destiny was to walk these narrow paths between two worlds, to guide restless spirits toward the light, even as the darkness pressed ever so gently at my back. Some nights, the ghostly entities that accompanied me grew restless, their voices a cacophony of half-remembered stories and hopeless regrets. I remember one rainy evening when I sat beneath an old ginkgo tree by my family's modest home. The wet raindrops tapped a steady rhythm on the tiled roof, and in that monotonous drumming, I heard faint cries of anguish and despair. A tall, slender figure emerged from the clear curtain of rain. She wore a traditional kimono that had faded into the colors of a bygone era, and her eyes were pools of infinite sorrow. I called her Mother Yurei, though she never spoke her name. I sensed that she had once been a devoted mother, torn apart by the weight of secrets and happenstance. I reached out with my tiny hands, and in the soft glow of the lantern light, I tried to show her that she was not forgotten. In that moment, I understood that some ghosts linger because they have unfinished business, buried promises, unresolved grief, and love that could not be silenced. I spent many nights with Mother Yurei, gently coaxing her memories to the surface, like delicate petals falling from a cherry blossom tree. As we talked in silence, I shared with her the simple truths of a child's heart, a truth that the departed might find solace in, and that I too longed for, the desire to be understood. I believed that if I could guide them to the light, perhaps they would find peace, and in doing so, I might finally make sense of the constant embrace between my world and theirs. Other ghosts came to me in different forms. A boy with a crooked smile, a grieving husband who clutched a faded photograph of his beloved wife, and even an old merchant whose regrets seemed to seep into the walls of an abandoned temple. Each spirit carried its own tapestry of heartbreak and mystery. The streets of Okinawa, with their quiet alleys and hidden corners, became my sacred sanctuary, a place where the living and the dead merged into one quiet chorus of voices that only I could hear. During the days when the sunlight danced on the waves and the islanders busied themselves with daily chores, I kept my secret close and hidden. I learned to mask my pain and the subtle dread of knowing what others could not see. The spirits, in their quiet desperation, taught me resilience. They shared lessons of love and loss, urging me to look beyond the ordinary. Their soft voices became a constant reminder that the world was much larger than just the realm of the living. Yet, even amidst these encounters, a desolate robe of loneliness surrounded me. I would often wonder if I was cursed to walk this isolated path alone. Why was it that I could see what others could not? And would I ever find someone who understood the language of silent tears and ghostly heartbreaks? It was during these moments of quiet despair that I found unexpected comfort in the stories of the Okinawa Island elders. Their tales of ancient spirits and forgotten legends awoke in my mind, urging me to continue my journey, no matter how solitary it seemed. I learned that each entity had a story, a cherished memory that was as vivid as the scent of incense drifting from a nearby shrine. And as I listened to these stories, I began to see my own existence as part of a larger narrative, a story that bridged the living and the past, where every shared secret was a step toward healing old wounds. In those nights beneath the ancient trees of Okinawa, I slowly embraced my role as a guide, an unwilling but determined keeper of the darkness and the lost souls. I had always thought that my encounters with the ghosts were meant only for the quiet corners of my island home. Yet, one fateful day, a stranger arrived in our small village, a tall, broad-shouldered American man named Hunter Walker. He worked at the local hospital, a place as sterile and cold as an unwelcome memory, and his presence seemed to ripple through the fabric of our humble lives. I first noticed him when I was on my way home from school. His eyes, the color of the deep Pacific, held a strange melancholy that resonated with the ghost I knew so well. He rarely spoke, and when he did, his words carried an accent that felt foreign and achingly familiar. I soon learned that he was a doctor, a healer among the living, though I sensed a deeper, more complex pain beneath his calm exterior. At first, I kept my distance, watching him from afar as he moved like a shadow through the hospital corridors. Yet, as days passed, I began to see him in the quiet moments between dusk and dawn, standing alone by the seaside, staring out into the endless dark water. Something about him beckoned me, a silent call that drove me to approach him and perhaps share a piece of my secret world. One chilly evening, when the rain had turned the streets of the island into glistening ribbons of light, I found myself drawn to the hospital. I wandered into the empty waiting room, where the hum of fluorescent lights set a somber tone. And there, by a window overlooking the rain-soaked forest, stood Dr. Walker. His gaze was fixed on the horizon, as if searching for an answer that eluded him. I sat quietly in the far corner, my heart fluttering like a trapped bird. As the minutes stretched on, I could almost feel the ghosts of his past whispering in the sterile air, echoes of a life filled with healing and secret, hidden regrets. I dared to speak, my voice barely audible. "Doctor, do you see them too?" The question slipped from my lips, innocent yet laden with the weight of my secret. He turned slowly, and for a fleeting moment our eyes met. I saw in his gaze a flicker of recognition, as if he understood that I was not like the others. But before he could respond, the moment was shattered by the sound of hurried footsteps. He looked away, and I was left alone with my thoughts and the mechanical sounds of the hospital machines. In the weeks that followed, I found myself returning to the hospital not out of fear, but out of a need to see him again. I started to notice subtle changes in his demeanor. He began to talk to me in brief, quiet whispers, a conversation held in the space between the living and the past. I learned that he had come to Okinawa to find solace from a past he could not continue, and in his silence, I sensed the weight of a secret too painful to share. Each time we met, I felt as though I was peeling back layers of mystery around his well-kept story. There was something unresolved about Dr. Walker, something that tethered him to a past filled with both healing and remorse. His gentle smile, his soft-spoken words, they all hinted at a truth he was too afraid to face. I wanted to help him, to guide him as I had guided so many lost souls before, yet I knew that some truths are too awful for even a small child to bear. I often wondered if the spirits I saw in the man before me were somehow intertwined, a tapestry woven with threads of sorrow and longing. The hospital corridors became a crossroads for the living and the departed, and I realized that my life gift was slowly expanding into realms I had never even imagined. Dr. Walker, with his haunted eyes and quiet vulnerability, became a mystery I felt destined to reveal, and though I was only 12, I sensed that our fates were inextricably linked. As autumn settled over the village, the island's gentle warmth gave way to cool, crisp evenings that seemed to whisper secrets in the dark. I continued my nightly vigils among the ghosts, and each encounter left me with new questions about the nature of life and passing and the mysteries that bind them together. Dr. Walker's demeanor grew more enigmatic with every visit, his silence a mirror to the unspoken truths that haunted him even now. One particularly still night, the air thick with the scent of soba noodle soup from a nearby kitchen, I found myself wandering along a narrow path near the hospital. The mist clung to the trees, and every sound was magnified in the still air. It was there, amid the soft rustle of ryukyu pine, that I sensed a disturbance, a ripple in the fabric between life and hereafter that was unnerving and deeply familiar to my ears. The ghost of a man appeared, his form wavering like smoke in the cool night air. He wore a crisp suit, and his eyes, once full of warmth, now glowed with a strange, spectral light. I recognized him immediately from my many visits to the hospital. He was Dr. Hunter Walker, or rather, the ghost of the man I had come to care for so dearly. But something was different. His presence, which had once seemed grounded and melancholy, now pulsed with a desperate, unspoken agony. "Doctor," I whispered, approaching him as one might approach a fearful, frightened animal. His ghost's eyes met mine, and in that moment I sensed his inner turmoil, a torment that went far beyond the regret of lost opportunities. I reached out with trembling fingers, not to touch, but to offer the silent sign of understanding. In the quiet that followed, I felt as if the very air around us trembled, with secrets too heavy for the living to bear. That night, as I sat with the ghost of Dr. Walker, he began to recount fragments of a tale that were at once disjointed and hauntingly familiar. There were admissions of betrayal and infidelity, a dark chapter of his life that had left scars invisible to everyone but him. I learned that he had once been a man of passion and promise, a healer whose heart had been shattered by the weight of his own transgressions. Wailings of a jealous wife and a forbidden affair with an attractive nurse reverberated in the empty space between us. Every word he seemed to speak was not in sound, but in the silence that enveloped us, a silence that spoke of past regrets and unhealed wounds. I listened intently, offering what little solace I could. As I had done with so many lost souls before, I realized that I was not merely a passive witness to these tragedies. I was meant to help guide and console him, to be the bridge that carried him toward the light of forgiveness. As our conversations deepened over several hours, the truth became harder to ignore. The ghost of Dr. Walker carried a profound sorrow that was almost tangible, a maddening sorrow that spoke of a life cut short, of secrets hidden beneath layers of guilt and immoral betrayal. I began to wonder if perhaps the man I saw was no longer among the living at all. And as the chill of the Okinawa nights grew ever more chilling, that suspicion clung to me like an apparition. I found myself torn between the comforting certainty of my own world and the growing dread that some souls, even those who appear human, might be imprisoned in their own tragic pasts. The hospital, once a place of sterile healing, now spoke with the voices of regrets and adult secrets, each corridor a passageway between two realities. And through it all, I could not shake the feeling that I was standing on the precipice of a truth too immense for any one child to bear, much less understand. It was on a night when the moon was hidden behind a veil of dark, swirling clouds, that the final truth was laid bare before me, a truth that I had long known, yet could no longer keep hidden. I sat by the edge of a quiet koi pond near the hospital, the gentle lapping of water, the only sound in a world that had suddenly grown unbearably still. Dr. Hunter Walker was there again, his form shimmering in the darkness. But this time, something was different. His eyes, once clouded with unspoken sorrow, now burned with the dawning of oncoming clarity. "Doctor," I said softly, my voice barely rising above the moving of the water. I could see the conflict within him, a battle between the past and the harsh reality of what lay before him. For the first time, he looked at me not as a troubled man, but as a lost soul reaching out for an ounce of redemption. I took a deep breath, and with the trembling honesty of a child who had seen too much, I whispered, "You're not here, are you? You're dead." The words hung between us like a fragile glass ornament on the brink of shattering. His eyes widened, and in that moment I saw a flicker of understanding, a realization that had been hidden behind layers of regret and denial. Slowly, as if guided by a force greater than either of us, the memories began to flood back to him. In muted fragments of thought, he recalled the fateful night when his life had been brutally murdered. He remembered the fierce argument, the piercing cry of his jealous wife, and the sudden, overwhelming pain and darkness that followed. I listened as he pieced together his final moments, a doctor who cheated, his heart torn apart by infidelity, and his life extinguished by the very person that once claimed to love him. The nurse, so kind and gentle, had been an unwitting participant in a tragic affair that had led to his untimely demise. Tears welled in my eyes as I continued. "I see dead people, doctor. I speak with them. I help them move on. And you must find your way to the light." My small voice, steady and resolute despite my tender age, carried the weight of many lifetimes of ultimate sorrow and undying hope. I had spent years guiding the lost, and now it was my honored duty to show the doctor the way home. He looked at me with a mixture of anguish and relief, as though a burden he had carried for far too long was finally being lifted. I never knew," he murmured, the words barely audible over the nocturnal symphony of the night. In that fragile moment, his spirit seemed to be uplifted with the possibility of redemption. I realized then that I had been given a rare gift, the ability to see not only the living, but also the souls that had been burdened by their own actions and mistakes. The truth, stark and unyielding, settled around us like the cool mist of the Okinawa night. Dr. Walker's tragic tale was not one of mere misfortune. It was a story of love, betrayal, and the desperate need for forgiveness. His wife's jealous rage had taken his life, a life that he had tried so hard to build through his work and his kindness. And in the silence of that moment, as I guided him with the soft assurance of an angelic guardian, he finally understood he had been dead all along. "I'm sorry," he whispered, his voice dripping with sadness and regret. "I never meant to hurt anyone. I never meant to live a lie." His confession, tender and heartbreaking, was met only by the gentle rustle of the wind through the pines. I nodded, my own heart aching with empathy. "It's not your fault," I said, my words a quiet promise that even the deepest wounds could someday heal. "I will help you, doctor. I will guide you to the light and to a new beginning." In that final revelation, as the night seemed to exhale a long-held unspoken secret, I felt a strange sense of peace. I had seen the spirits of many souls, but none as troubled as him. And though he was lost in the memories of his own remorse, I knew that even the darkest path could lead to rebirth if one had the courage to walk it. With my tiny hand extended, I beckoned him to follow me, a silent invitation to leave behind the endless cycle of pain and step into a new realm of forgiveness and release of his heavy burdens. As the clear smoke swirled around us and the first hints of dawn painted the horizon with pale light, Dr. Hunter Walker took my hand. In that bittersweet moment, the truth of our interwoven fates was undeniable. The dead can speak, and sometimes they just need a little help finding their way back home. I am Tenshi, a special little girl with an old soul, and I will continue to walk the delicate path between the living and the departed, guiding lost spirits toward the light so that they may finally be free of their troubles from this weary world. And, as the first rays of morning broke over my beloved Okinawa, I knew that every dark secret and every ghostly encounter was a sign from above that it is never too late to find your way back home.
Hello, my Nightmare Obsession fans. We hope you loved this story, and were almost frightened to death, left wanting even more. If so, please share video and our channel link with friends and family, and ask them to subscribe, like, comment, and share with their friends and family too. We really want to create more nightmarish horror stories for you, so please be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe to our channel now. We would really appreciate it. Thanks so much.